Welcome back to Twitch and Box Sports Talk. Week 8 here in Lakeside, down here in the Backstage Pass, hot tub spa, griddle, whatever else you want to call it
Live
nowadays.
music, private nightclub, live music, casino. Yeah, it's getting out of hand.
Yeah, got a lot of casino, got a lot of tags in here, but we got the crew back together for Week 8 here. We're going to start off with a fan favorite, what made us Twitch, and we're going to start out with the man himself, Twitch. What made you Twitch this week? I think everybody who listens weekly probably already knows what it is, but what made you Twitch this week?
Oh yeah, for those that, I feel like if I say anything else here, then everyone's going to call me on my shit. So if you really want to see me how I feel about it, make sure you tune into the other video this week of State of the Steelers. Yeah. But the thing that made me Twitch this week was my team, the Steelers, losing to the Bengals in the fashion that they did. To be 4-1 and the Bengals be 2-4 and you're up 10-0. I know they said Joe Flacco's played the Steelers now I think 24 times. I don't. Yeah, I guess I kind of already went off about it. I said, but to allow Joe Flacco to dominate the way he did, I said kudos to him for getting rid of the ball fast in under 3 seconds for almost all night. I said, but Jamar Chase is one of or tied for first for the top receiver in the NFL, and kudos to Flacco for being that veteran to know to get the ball to his playmakers. And I don't even know what else to say. So you have a chance to really take a commanding lead on the division. Now the Bengals are a half game back, and our schedule gets a lot harder. And I said, and to lose the way that they lost, I said it'd be one thing if it was the Steelers, or they allowed Chase to have his numbers, but they took away Higgins. Well, no, he got his catches too. Okay, well then they must have shut down the run game, right? No, he had over 100 yards. So 1 sack for Pittsburgh's defense. The Bengals scored on 7 of their last 8 final drives. The most inexcusable thing that made me Twitch, and again, I hate to repeat myself, but talked about it on the State of the Steelers section, but again, with Chase already having 15 catches for like $145, and knowing that you're only up by 2 and you only need a field goal, there's a still shot on Facebook the day after on Friday where there's not anybody within 12 yards of Jamar Chase. I don't know what we're doing. So that was what made me Twitch. Just another Mike Tomlin special, losing to, I know it's early in the year, but losing to another 2-win team. Again, I think his record's 0-8 or 0-10 against divisional opponents on Thursday Night Football. 2-10 all time. So that was what made me Twitch, was the Steelers defense and that loss to the Bengals. Kudos to Joe Flacco and the Bengals for staying relevant, but just inexcusable.
Understandable. What made me Twitch is not as close to home here, but Carson Wentz, after losing to the Eagles 28-22, kind of had him in the game, but threw some costly interceptions. In his post-game interview, he said, I think I'm going to try not to throw it to the other team anymore after throwing 2 interceptions. And as an NFL fan in general, I laughed when I first saw it, but the more I thought about it, I was like, well, no crap, Carson Wentz. This is why you're a backup now. Like, I know he was probably trying to make a laugh of like a shitty situation. Yeah, you lose the game to it. They played a decent game. They were in it basically the whole time, but to come out and say that, like, you're a backup, Carson, maybe don't say that and just say I'll be better.
But he was an MVP. He was an MVP candidate.
And you know what? I enjoy that. I enjoy saying that too, and I'm guilty of saying it. That every time he comes back and starts at some point, he was an MVP candidate one time, guys. Remember that. But I feel like that was definitely a product of his situation and not just Carson Wentz. But he's going to start again this week in another primetime. Not a primetime. It's going to be a primetime, but last week wasn't primetime. But getting that Thursday Night Football start against the Chargers. So I'm interested to see if he does not throw the ball to the other team. But that made me Twitch hearing that as a Broncos fan, because I remember the quarterback hell days of having quarterbacks coming out like Russell Wilson coming out and saying some dipshit stuff after you lose a close game. So it just kind of a flashback there made me Twitch. But Greg, what made you Twitch this week?
Overall, we've talked about this over the last few weeks. The missed PATs, that's just a crazy statistic. You go into those moments thinking that those are just obvious points on the board, and we had a couple of those this week. Obviously, the one with the Broncos, that came back to kill them. But so the missed PATs, good for the Broncos capitalizing on that. The funny thing that made me twitch from a different perspective is, we talked about Scabadoo, Scooby-Doo, whatever. He runs hard. He's a lot of fun to watch, but seeing Alex Singleton just absolutely just truck stick him on a play is like, man, that's
led to an interception.
Yeah, those are the things that you sit there and go, those are the plays that make a big difference in that game situation. So missed PATs, man. Players got to clean that up. Kansas City's been in that situation a couple times. Field goals are one thing. PATs definitely are automatic points on the board at this point. And so, when you start looking at where you at situationally, those are points that you need to have. So that would make a lot of people twitch. Didn't make me twitch. I just laughed.
Yeah, wasn't your team, so.
Yeah. Our son called me up and said, man, you got to go back and watch that fourth quarter of the Broncos game. And I'm sitting there going, how the hell did they lose that? And then you watch it and you go, that's how.
They lost it.
And Big Willie said, that's why the Giants kicker doesn't have a job this week. Got let go.
Got cut today. Fun little tidbit here. Not fun for him, but fun for all of us NFL fans. He is the only kicker in the last 40 years to miss 2 extra points in the same game. So,
twitch.
Yeah, so Giants are on the lookout for a kicker. But let's roll into our offensive and defensive player of the weeks. A lot of good candidates this week. Honorable mention I have for my offensive players, Matthew Stafford. Only 182 yards, but also throwing 5 touchdowns, 3 of those to Devontae Adams. So the retirement home out there in L.A. played really good this week in Lac-A-Puca. But my offensive player of the week is Jalen Hurts, which I never thought I would say, especially not in playoff time. Throws for 326 and 3 touchdowns. Believe it or not, he had negative 10 rushing yards, which is outrageous for him. He usually has quite a few. But Jalen Hurts getting 3 touchdowns, really the Vikings defense taking away Saquon Barkley in that run game, really making him, kind of what the blueprint to beat the Eagles this year has been, is make them throw the ball down the field. Saquon only having 44 yards, but then Hurts coming out and just going 19 of 23, taking 3 sacks there. So,
and Lac-A-Puca does sound like a good place to go on vacation. We're going to go in Lac-A-Puca.
Yeah. But my offensive player, Jalen Hurts, I was impressed. Devontae Adams deserves a shout-out with 183 yards and 1 tutty. Great game for...
Devontae Adams had 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, the retirement home out there is doing great. Puka will come back. Crazy little stat about Puka. This doesn't really matter. But his wife divorced him, so I'm guessing the Puka run is about to be generational coming up here. So, you think about what Tom Brady did after that, and I don't know if they're the same level of competitor, but you got to think there's some kind of edge that's going to come off of that, especially with the year he's been having. So, fun little tidbit, I guess. Not fun for him, but if you're a bettor, probably watch that.
Yeah.
But Twitch, who is your offensive player of the week?
Like you kind of mentioned it, as far as like honorable mentions being Stafford and Adams. Ferguson, the tight end of Dallas, had 3 touchdowns this week. Jamar Chase, obviously on that short list. Rashid Rice having 2 touchdowns, but Chase with the 16 catches for $164. But I'm going to go with the Monday night game with Jahmyr Gibbs going off for 136 rushing yards on 17 carries, and then also having 3 catches for 82 yards. So one of them being a 78-yard run and a 30-yard catch and run. So 218 all-purpose yards against a 5-1 Bucs team, banged up or not. It really allowed Detroit to kind of open that game up, and then their defense to. We talk about their offense a lot. I say, but their defense gets pressure quite a bit. They have a good defensive line, so that was that just completely opened up the game. His long touchdown. So my offensive player of the week was Jahmyr Gibbs. 218 and 2
Yeah.
touchdowns for the Lions with a win over the Bucks.
A fun fact, there's all kinds of crazy stats this week I got, but Jahmyr Gibbs has had at least 150 total yards and a touchdown in every game that Barry Sanders has been in an appearance in the Lions Stadium so far this year, and Barry was in attendance last night. So I saw that fun little tidbit, and I was like, well, I mean, that makes sense. You have top 3 running back of all time in the stadium, and you're playing his position. You probably want to show out,
Right.
which makes sense. But let's roll into defensive players here. My defensive player of the week, going to go back to that Broncos game, is Jonathan Cooper getting 1.5 sacks, 1 tackle for loss. One of those sacks coming in a clutch situation. But all kinds of pressure, especially when Nick Bonito didn't get a sack this week, but double teaming Bonito and then that interior, Zach Allen getting double teamed. Jonathan Cooper has really stepped up to the plate and took those. We say when you have 2 edge guys or 2 guys you have to double team, somebody's going to get a one-on-one. And Jonathan Cooper, 9 times out of 10, gets the one-on-one, and he's proved these last 2 weeks he's stepped up and been out there and done exactly what you expect a good player to do, especially after he got re-upped. But Twitch, who's your defensive player of the week? I think I know where you're going in this one.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that the honorable mention was and I'm trying to pull up his name, but the defensive back. I was watching bits and pieces of all the noon games, but defensive back for the Panthers. I know they played the Jets, but had 2 interceptions. Honorable mention. But player of the week for me was actually, although it wasn't pretty, Green Bay getting the win over Arizona, and Micah Parsons and his 3 sacks. I think they said he had 10 QB hurries and 6 QB hits.
Yeah, I mean he was in Kyler's grill all day,
Yeah.
which is crazy for an elusive quarterback like Kyler to be.
So it was, it was Jacoby Brissett this week.
Oh yeah, Jacoby. That makes more sense.
But
still.
He'd kind of been kind of quiet the last couple of weeks, and so after he got off to the really hot start, like I said, having 3 sacks, I mean, he was, like I said, he was constantly in the backfield of Arizona. So Micah Parsons, week 7, defensive player of the week for Twitch.
I like it. Rolling into injury report here. Max Crosby left the game early with a knee. MRI hasn't came back yet, or they haven't announced yet how long he's going to be out, or if he's going to be out at all. Jalen Daniels goes out with a hamstring. I did not see reports come out on that one either today. So interested to see what happens there. That definitely affects the Monday Night Football game for sure. I'm guessing if he's close to be able to go, he'll come out and play because that's a big game that they need. Bryce Young out with a high ankle sprain, at least for this week, which really throws a damper. I mean, the Red Rifle will probably go out there and sling it, but who knows what it's going to look like. And then arguably the saddest mention this week is Mike Evans out with a broken clavicle, out for the rest of the season, or at least till later in the season. Which is, I've always enjoyed Mike Evans, watching him play. Had 1,000 yards in all 11 seasons. He's the only receiver all time to tie Jerry Rice's record. So he was on track to break Jerry Rice's 1,000 yards every season in his career. So it's the end of a great run there for Mike Evans. So I mean, that's our injury report. Sucks about Mike Evans.
Yeah.
I've always enjoyed Mike Evans.
That was my biggest takeaway, was the Mike Evans, 13 years Super Bowl ring with the Bucks, and like you said, consistent. Even last year, missing 4 or 5 games, and still
came
getting
back and got it
on a tear at the end of the season. Yeah. So, and with some other than Tom Brady and Baker Mayfield, now with some mediocre quarterback play too.
He was there for the Jameis 30-30 club.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, shout out Evans, man.
Yeah.
I'm gonna miss watching him. I enjoy that guy.
Yeah.
Rolling into a couple questions I have here for the table. First of all, Justin Fields gets benched in that Jets game. How do you think the Jets go from here? What do you think the move is? They're over. Looking at their schedule, their first available win, or first gettable win I see on their schedule is the first week in December. I think they play the Saints the first week in December. So looking at their schedule, they got a little bit of a rough schedule coming here, so they could be 0-12 by the time they get there. Looking out, so I don't know what the Jets do. What's your guys' take on the Jets? I don't want to spend too much time on it because they're over. Nobody really cares unless you're a Jets fan, but I feel like we need to talk about the situation.
I think that before the end of the season, you'll see Justin Fields again. It's too bad because I always felt like Justin Fields didn't really get a fair shot in Chicago or Pittsburgh. But you can't. The results are what they were in Denver, what they were this last Sunday. 3 out of the last 4 games, just really, really poor offensive showing and defense for that matter.
Yeah.
But I think Tyrod Taylor's that veteran, and like you said, I can't remember. Like I said, I think you're right. I think the Saints in December. I said, or like maybe the Bengals. I said about with the Bengals after the way they looked last week, and Joe Flacco probably. I don't see them probably winning that game. So I said they'll be fighting somebody in their own division for that, possibly for that first draft pick, like with the Dolphins.
Very
but
much so.
yeah, just not a whole lot. I said I don't know where you go from here because the first 3 or 4 games the Jets were ultra competitive, seemed to have an identity on defense, and Justin Fields had played pretty well. But
He called him the poor man's Lamar Jackson.
My bad. Yeah, the 12th of
now he's just poor.
Yeah, the 12th of December they played the Dolphins,
Yeah,
and then they played the Saints 2 weeks later. So I mean, they're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, another 5 losses before. I mean, the Falcons might be gettable at that time. Who knows what the Falcons are going to look like? But
yeah,
the Jets are in a dumpster fire
yeah.
per the usual, I guess you could say.
And we've seen it's just like how do you respond? I mean, there's obviously other extenuating circumstances and where your team's at, but it's also to a certain degree, what do you want to do with it? So I think Justin Fields will have that opportunity before the end of the season. But like, what do you want to make of that benching? Do you want to let it define you in your season and your career going forward, But I agree that it needed to happen. Period. And I'm sure with the Jets faithful booing him at home, that with the first-year head coach, who I hate to say I don't think he's on the hot seat yet, but I mean, with how badly they played the last couple of weeks, if they don't get it squared away, you could be looking at somebody that might be a one and done. So, I feel like it's the right call. I think we'll see Fields before the end of the season, but Tyrod Taylor at least gives you some veteran presence, and I don't really want to go on about that. There's not a whole lot to go on about New York.
Yeah, rolling into another interesting question, you could say, is do we think the Cowboys, getting a great win there, do we think the Cowboys can sneak into the playoffs? Their upcoming schedule is they play the Broncos this week, then they have the Cardinals, the Raiders, the Eagles, the Chiefs, the Lions, the Vikings, the Chargers, the Commanders, and the Giants. Do we think they can sneak some wins in there? And with how, the NFC West right now, every team is 5-2, so the NFC West is probably going to have 2 teams in there. But do we think that the Cowboys can edge out one of those other teams to get that last wild card spot? Because their offense has been hot. The offense has scored 31, 31, 31, 24, 40, 31, 40, 37, 30, 44 this last week. But their defense has also given up crazy numbers across the board. They're going into this last game. They were ranked last in overall defense in most categories. So, what do we think the Cowboys' outlook is here?
I still have them on the outside looking in. But I can see scenarios like if everything falls their way, where it could be a playoff team because that offense has looked in really, really good. Dak Prescott's kind of flying under the radar. But my biggest question is, like you kind of already hinted at, was the defense, and we've talked about that the last couple of weeks about. I think all game up until last week, every game but one, they'd given up at least 30 points. But if they were to take care of business against Denver, or and then what I consider no offense, like a mediocre Minnesota team, and like the Commanders are struggling, if they pick up those games, I could see a scenario where Dallas's offense they squeak in, and we'll see what happens with Mac Jones, Brock Purdy. And like I said, I don't feel like the Panthers and the Falcons are going to be consistent enough throughout the year. So, it just kind of depends, in my mind, like you kind of touched on that too, like on the NFC West, on the other playoff teams. But I could see, and they played Chicago, never mind.
Yes, they have winnable games there, and then they have some games that their offense can make it an interesting game. And especially with Pickens coming back and then Lamb getting more involved as the weeks go, and they have Ferguson and Devontae Williams has played really good. The offense is a high-flying offense, but that defense has question marks. So that also makes me wonder if they're, a trade candidate looking for a guy like Max Crosby that's on the trade block, or I don't know. I don't think a Sauce Gardner moves, but like an edge rusher from a team that's not very good right now. So I'm interested to see what happened with the Cowboys. They're always intriguing just because they're all. I mean, you see them all the time.
Yeah.
They're America's team. They call them America's team. I think the Lions are America's team now, just because of pure vibes and what they're built on.
Yeah.
But that takes us into our question of the week. This week's question of the week is brought to you by Twitch himself, coming out with here. But after the Broncos comeback win in the fashion they did, what are some favorite comebacks that we have all time here? And I think everybody has one in mind, but the 28-3 Super Bowl Patriots comeback win.
That's got to be.
I feel like that's a lot of people's number one. That's just
because of the stage and Tom Brady and like just how dominant. And I think so many people tired of the Patriots getting the calls or getting Tom Brady fatigue and feeling like, all right, the Falcons just spanking them, so like it felt really good, and then just slowly watch them chip away. I think that's got to be number one. Couple games come to mind. A couple of them are Monday Night Football games. I don't have the years. I didn't come in prepared. I'm sorry. But there was one year, I don't know if it was 98 or 99. It was a Monday Night Football game in New York where they were playing the Dolphins-Jets, and I think the Dolphins were up by like 28 points or something like that, 30 points. And Arnold Schwarzenegger, this will tell you at least the time frame, but he said Wayne Corbett's he's going to bring him back, and the Jets are going to win with Vinny Testaverde. And they came back and won. That game comes to mind. There's a Monday Night Football game where Peyton Manning scored, I think, 3 touchdowns in the final 3 minutes in Tampa Bay. There's a good clip about John Gruden talking about that game, talking about the sheriff. But Peyton Manning in Indy early in his career coming back. And then another one, and then I'll be done, is the 2002 playoffs. Like 2 of the biggest playoff comebacks were on the same day. One of them just so happened to be my Steelers and I think it was the Kelly Holcomb or I don't remember, like of the Browns, and so they came back from 18 down or 21 down, had a rough start, but came back and won at the last second. Chris Muafala touchdown, and then later that same day was the Jeremy Shockey, and I can't remember if that was, I want to say it was Eli's, because it was my freshman year. That tells the listeners anything. But it was 02-03 playoffs. But I remember Greg calling me after that Steeler one, and then later that same day they were playing the Giants were playing the Niners and they were up by same thing, 3 touchdowns or something like that. And then the Niners came all the way back with Jeff Garcia, and then there was kind of a controversial last-second field goal that was missed or blocked by the Niners on the Giants. But that was, as far as comeback games, those were the ones that come to mind for me personally, because I already know which 2 Greg's going to talk about.
Well, yeah, for me, I mean, I was at the game with Sparky and fam, and it was the January 12, 2020. Chiefs were playing the Texans, and it was one of the 4th largest comebacks in Sunday night history. Chiefs were down by 24 points, and I mean, just sitting there, when you buy playoff tickets, you're spending $500-600 or something on a ticket. I mean, I don't think it was that much, but I mean, it was a ridiculous amount of money, and you're excited about the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes, and that was really, to me, that beginning moment where you realize that if you're a Chiefs fan, you're never out of the game. But they're down by 24 points, and then they come back and end up winning, what I think it was 51-31.
55-31.
I mean, it was something crazy.
55. I think he put 55.
And then you turn around, and I remember T-Bone coming to work, and he had bought tickets to the FC championship game against the Titans, and it's the same thing over and over again. And then you turn around and you win that game. So to me, the biggest playoff game that meant something personally to me was Chiefs Texans, January 12, 2020. A game that you think that you're out in the first 20 minutes of football play, and then you come back there. And at that time, the biggest controversy of that was Chris Jones was in a holdout that he was wanting to get paid. And it was ridiculous. There was a guy that was sitting in front of us wearing a Chris Jones jersey, and Mark's just sitting there ribbing comments throughout the entire game. Well, maybe if Chris Jones would have showed up, we wouldn't be in this situation because our defense hasn't showed up all day. And at the end of the day, I mean, they made up, maybe, but I mean, but that was a game that, to me, just tells you for Chiefs fans in the Patrick Mahomes era, we have set that precedent that you're never out.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that lead is where you just kind of give up, but that gave us hope that we're never out of it as Chiefs fans. As long as you have Patrick Mahomes, you're still in it. And so every game means something. And so that's what was so crazy about this week with Bo Nix and the Broncos. You just sit there and go, there's no way they're coming back. And when Tristan said, you need to go back and watch the fourth quarter of this, that's where he said Bo Nix got a little bit of confidence and that he's the guy that can drive your team to a win in a situation where everybody in the National Football League thinks that you're out of that game. Yeah. So, yeah, there's some good ones out there.
What's crazy is 24-0 at the end of the first quarter, but by halftime it was 35-24 Chiefs. By halftime. That was what's crazy.
Just bam.
My most memorable game, only reason this is because the first Madden I ever played was 2014 Madden, so Madden 14. And on one of the loading screens, I had Andrew Luck scoring the game-winning touchdown here. But the Indianapolis Colts beating the Kansas City Chiefs at Lucas Oil 45-44. Chiefs were up 38-10 in that game. I remember watching bits and pieces of this game because, I was just starting to get into football at that time. But I remember the loading screen because it was the one where Andrew Luck drops the snap and he picks it up, dives up over the goal line, puts it in the end zone.
Yeah, Mark has a different perspective on that game, too.
Yeah, I bet he does. But, I was also maybe an Andrew Luck fan at the time.
Yeah.
Because, obviously, when you're young, you're influential.
Yeah.
Like poor Finn over there.
Right. Poor Finn.
But
I remember the Chiefs didn't have an answer for Ty Hilton that day.
Obviously, the Broncos win this week is going to go down as one of my favorite comebacks just because it showed grittiness and it showed, a young Bo Nix hopefully goes on to be a Super Bowl champion at some point. Shows me this was a stepping stone. And then I don't really have any other ones. One, a singular play that comes to mind, I think, comebacks is the Vikings win with Stephon Diggs and Case Keenum over the Saints. I don't remember what year that was.
Yeah.
It was the year that the Rams went to the Super Bowl.
21?
Yeah, 21, I think.
Yeah.
But Stephon Diggs catches that corner route and breaks the corner off and then just scores a touchdown last second, Minneapolis Miracle.
Yeah.
That play is always going to be engraved in my head because I remember exactly where I was sitting at my parents' house and sitting where my dad was sitting. I remember watching it and be like, there's no way.
Right.
And then, just how it happened across the board. So that's for sure in my head. But down in the comments, be sure to drop your favorite comeback that your team had or games that you've watched. Obviously, we didn't talk about the end of Kirk Cousins, people say, when he came back and beat the Colts in Week 15 in 2022. Everybody says that's the end because that's his last big performance he had. But
or those Bills, during that stretch of 4 straight Super Bowl appearances by the Bills.
4 falls of the Bills.
But playing the Oilers down almost 30 points and coming back and winning that game, too. Yeah. So
Doug Flutie.
Yeah.
Also
made a Netflix special about that, the 4 falls of the Bills.
Yeah.
Jeez, that's terrible.
Fun little another fat football stat is Doug Flutie also has the largest at the time that when the 4 falls came out is Doug Flutie also had the greatest college football comeback point differential of all time at Boston College as well.
Oh, against Miami.
Yeah, which that's just a fun fact that I remember from that.
Yeah.
It's a crazy documentary. Introduced me to what the Bills are about. But rolling into some more common things here is we're going to break down some games from this week. We're going to start off with probably one of the most surprising ones, for me anyways, was the Cowboys-Commanders game. The Commanders coming out and handling – or not the Commanders. The Cowboys coming out and handling the Commanders 44-22. George Pickens has another memorable moment. Last year, all we could talk about was George Pickens' off-the-field moments that were always on camera of him, punching somebody or throwing somebody. But this year, the last 2 weeks, he's had memorable moments of making outrageous plays, outrageous catches. The guy's just a freak of nature. But Dak Prescott, throws for 264 and 3 touchdowns. Javonte Williams rolls again with 116 yards and a tutty. CeeDee Lamb gets back involved with 110 and a touchdown. George Pickens, 4 for 82, with his longest of 44 yards, which was an outrageous play. I mean, juked somebody, jumped over somebody, emptied the bag of tricks on that play. And then Jake Ferguson getting another 2 touchdowns there. So, and then the Commanders, Jalen Daniels gets hurt, but 156 yard and a touchdown. Mariota comes in, goes 4 for 10, throws an interception. I think the big reason Daniels got hurt here is because they had no rushing attack, with Daniels leading the team with rushing yards, which we've talked about. Kind of was worried about the Chiefs kind of ending up in the situation before they got the pieces back, as Mahomes leading the team in rushing. But yeah, I mean, that wide receiver core's dwindled with Debo being out and Scary Terry being out. So with your guy Jalen Lynn, guy I've never heard of, leading your team in receiving yards, the Commanders are kind of just on the IR, kind of like the Niners have been in the past. But I mean, this was a fun game to watch because my roommate is a big Cowboys fan, and he was taking a nap because he works night shift, and he came out. But halftime, he's like, "There's no way they're going to win." And he got up to win. He was like, "How the hell are we winning this?" So that shows you the state of the Cowboys, I guess you could say.
That explains a lot about your roommate, by the way.
It does.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a very... Yeah, I'm not going to say that on camera. Anyways, what are your guys' takes on that game? It was a fun game to watch. I watched this game instead of the other game that was on.
No, I think you hit a nail on the head on both points. It's just kind of surprising that, because Daniels came out fairly late in the second half, or midway through the second half-ish. But talking about like not having a rushing attack and not good protection. And so, like, you don't have to look any further if you're a Washington fan, whether it be Commanders, Redskins. But
yeah, whatever kind of fan.
looking at just like you look at quarterbacks that had a phenomenal rookie year and they come back in the second year. You don't have to look any further than Blake Griffin back in the day with Washington. I was really surprised. I said I understand. I think there should be some leaning. I mean, there's no mercy. There's no handicap in the NFL. But if there's a silver lining, it's that obviously not having Debo Samuel or Scary Terry in the lineup is going to be an effect on anybody. But I was just really surprised because that week from them losing and playing a really bad game against the Falcons, excuse me, Daniels came out and played really well against the Chargers. And then even last week against the Bears, that was a great Monday night game. But they had made about 3 or 4 mistakes. Otherwise, they could have walked away from that win. It was sloppy. So, and again, we go back to another divisional game. I'm not shocked that the Cowboys won, but the fact of they got up early and often on Washington. It was never as close as even the score looked in the second half. And I felt I didn't. There wasn't one point of flipping through that game where I felt like Dallas wasn't in control of that game. Which goes to the next point about Dallas. It's like we talk about their offense, and one of the things we talked about with CeeDee Lamb getting hurt and being out a few weeks was relying on some of those other people, such as George Pickens. Now CeeDee Lamb comes back, and so you can build it around that offense. That opens it up even more. So that's a great win I feel like for the Cowboys, who had been one of the more inconsistent teams. They'll play a good game against the Packers, and then they play a bad game against the Bears, and then they play a really good game a couple of weeks ago, and then they shit the bed for the most part on defense against the Panthers. So that was a good win for the Cowboys. We'll find out a little bit more about where they're at as far as the NFL hierarchy playing Denver this week. But that was 2 different things. I said Washington all of a sudden losing 2 out of 3, and then having Kansas City, and then you have, like, on the flip side, that Dallas. Well, you said now I think it's time, because of that offense, to start taking them more serious, at least as a fringe playoff contender.
Yeah, very much so. I mean,
Dak's played outstanding.
Yeah, we talked about it. Greg's been on that all year, that Dak's been playing great all year. It's just that defense has been in the toilet all year. But rolling into our next game, going to recap here, is the Colts-Chargers game. Colts get the win in a big way, getting in that win 38-24. Take the Colts to 6-1, which who would have thought at this point? I'll gladly admit that I did not think the Colts were going to be this good. But Daniel Jones having another good day with 288 yards and 2 touchdowns. Jonathan Taylor getting it done on the ground again for another 3 touchdowns with 94 yards.
Both guys on my fantasy football team, by the way. That's why I'm
Tyler Warren,
top of the league.
rookie tight end, 69 yards, 1 touchdown. And then rolling over to the Chargers, another example of you got to establish a run game to help your quarterback out. Justin Herbert, 420 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He attempted 55 passes, which I don't think is a good formula to win an NFL football game. Justin Herbert's led the team in rushing yards with 31 yards. Together, the other 2 running backs had 23 yards on 10 carries.
I think Bo put it out there 50 times so this last week. So
Yeah, but we won, so it doesn't matter. Don't talk about that.
okay, all right.
And our J.K. Dobbins also went for another 89. So, I mean, we had a rushing game. It's neither here nor there. But Andre Gladson II, a guy I've never heard of before, having a career day with 164 yards and a touchdown, with old man Keenan Allen coming in second there with 119 yards and a touchdown. So, I mean, great game. I think at the beginning of the season, or the last playoff prediction we did, I had both these teams making the playoffs. I'm interested to see how the Chargers respond to this. But, I mean, they have to help Justin Herbert out here because you can't have your 6'5", 220-pound quarterback who's not meant to run the ball consistently lead the team with 31 rushing yards. So I don't know who's calling the offense over there, but figure it out, man. Like
Right.
You're gonna kill you don't want to. I mean, this is really negative, but you don't want an Andrew Luck situation when you have your start. I mean, I'm saying Justin Herbert's on Andrew Luck's level at all by any means.
Yeah.
But you have your star quarterback who you're building.
Comparable.
Yeah, comparable. Like you build your franchise around this guy. You don't want him retiring before he peaks
Right.
or before time is up because of lack of protection and all that. So, and I know their running back room's getting thin, so I'm seeing them in the market for a running back trade from a team, maybe an Alvin Kamara, which I doubt Kamara leaves, but if he does, that'd be a great landing spot for him.
Yeah.
So, what's your take on this one? I mean, Colts are 6-1. That's just outrageous to me. Can't get over it.
Oh, I mean, so we talk about it. So first let's talk about the Colts and what MVP candidate and comeback player of the year candidate Daniel Jones continues to play lights out. Colts sitting at 6-1 with their one loss being to the Rams, and they had 2 penalties called back that game. The touchdowns called back due to a penalty, and also I can't remember what was the other. Was that one of the one? I don't think it was one of the ones where they let the ball go early before the 1 year. There was another touchdown that they could have had in that game because it was like 3 in the same game of the Colts. But point being is that they very easily could be 7-0, and I kept flipping back and forth between those 3. We actually watched. Finn and I watched part of all 4 of the 3 o'clock games: the Broncos, the Commanders, the Packers. But watching most of that game or a good chunk of that game in the first half, like Indianapolis, it seems like even with the Colts game, is what I was going to say, was they got up 2 scores early and then never really looked back. And then even when the Chargers in the middle of the third quarter finally scored, they answered with they weren't like the Giants and they didn't let them come back, but they answered a touchdown with another touchdown on a good drive by Daniel Jones. When they got the lead early, they got a double-digit lead early. Chargers tried to make some comeback or tried to make some in the second half, and they responded when they had to. So I think you look at Indianapolis, and they're one of the most – I don't know if they can compete with the offensive firepower of the Chiefs, but with Jonathan Taylor running the ball and them controlling the clock, and then Daniel Jones being one of, if not the most efficient quarterback so far this year. I mean, so the balance on Indianapolis, I feel, makes them a legitimate contender and a team that's going to be there late in the postseason. So, like, that was, like I said, was how they controlled that game from the get-go, or how they've controlled all these games from the get-go. I said, even the Rams. On the flip side of this, if you're a Chargers fan, or from the Chargers' point of view, just kind of what seems a little bit more of what we've seen the last month of the Chargers. Some really, really good Justin Herbert moments, good throws. Like Quentin Jackson and Keenan Allen had good days. But you're still talking about a Chargers team that had a commanding 3-0 lead. Now they're sitting at 4-3 and not even first place in their division right now.
Hell no, they're not.
Right? So, yeah, I said I don't know what to make of the Chargers. I think the Chargers are that perfect example of one week they look really bad against the Commanders, they look really bad in the first half against the Colts. And then the other weeks, like I said, like there's moments where Justin Herbert, and then that's just it too. They've lost 3 out of 4, and the only win the last month they've had is against the Dolphins on the last. They got a field goal with less than a minute to go or whatever. So I'm a Harbaugh believer, and so I know that the Chargers have been banged up by injury. The Chargers also kind of under the radar have a top 10 defense, but to me that was my biggest thing was. The Colts, are they for real? The Chargers being that another one of those on the cusp type playoff teams. So are the Colts, where do they stack up? Are they more on the level at middle of the pack, barely making the playoffs, even if they win the division, or are they really one of the NFL elite? And so far through 7 games, it's hard not to say that they're not one of the most balanced teams and one of the NFL elite.
Yeah, very much so. Rolling into 2 elite teams here, or one very elite team and one team that's on the IR as well, is we have the Lions and the Buccaneers. The Lions get the win on Monday Night Football, 24-9. Baker Mayfield goes for 228 and 1 touchdown, throwing an interception in there. Rashee Wright leading the team in rushing for 38 yards. And then Tez Johnson getting another touchdown there, not Channing MVP this week. I don't think they did a good job. I mean, that guy's going to get fined a crap ton of money. He had a couple hot mics there after he scored. And then Kate Otten leading the team with 65. So you can tell that Ibuka only having 58 yards, you could tell he was still a little banged up, but he wanted to go out there and play. So I think before rolling to the Lions stats here, the Buccaneers can be a really good team at 5-2. They just need to get healthy. Yeah. For the most part. I mean, they're just really banged up. That wide receiver core is banged up. The offensive line's banged up. But rolling into a team that got the rushing game going and is one of the big reasons they won is the Detroit Lions. Jared Goff, 241, a touchdown with an INT. Jahmyr Gibbs, 17 for 136 and 2 touchdowns. Montgomery with 21 yards, so shut him down. Jared Goff with 7 rushing yards. Yeah. Shout out that guy for that. Amon-Ra getting another touchdown on 86 yards. Jahmyr Gibbs, another 82 through the air. And then Brock Wright, backup tight end for 3 for 23. So this was really the Jahmyr Gibbs show. It seems like he can go off any week he wants to. Yeah. So Lions get the win. Bengals are banged up. Or not the Bengals. The Buccaneers are banged up. So, Twitch, what do you got to say about this besides the Buccaneers need to get healthy?
Well, so I think one of the biggest takeaways is even when the Bucs get healthy, and I expect them to be there right at the end of the year too. I said, but we'll find out. I think it's within 3 or 4 games that the Lions play the Eagles as well. But with this one, you're talking about again tiebreaker scenarios, and so that this might be a game where if they finish with the same record, we'll look back at this game and the Bucs or the Lions have the head-to-head over the Bucs. So. Like you said, you definitely hit a nail on the head with the Buccaneers. I said just completely decimated or depleted by injury, especially at the wide receiver core. I think they'll be okay once Ibuka and Godwin has a little more time to come back. And I believe in Baker Mayfield, and that defense is still pretty good. Todd Bowles. So it kind of honestly played out the way I thought it would. Detroit coming off a loss with that home crowd, and I feel like Detroit is one of those 2 or 3 teams that has been consistent every week. I said I know they played a very mediocre half against a good Chiefs defense. I said, but they got kind of pushed around at the end of that Chiefs game. I said, but you look at the first half and the other 5 games that they've won. Like you talked about, you have Jahmyr Gibbs going off for 200 yards again, a guy that had almost 20 touchdowns or had 20 touchdowns last year. Yeah. And then you have Montgomery as a 1-2 punch. St. Brown still had his 86 yards or whatever and a touchdown. And that's not even getting guys like Williams. I feel like that's the thing with a guy like Campbell or like Andy Reid or people like that. Like they get the guys to buy in where, okay, this week it's going to be Gibbs, next week it's going to be St. Brown. If one guy doesn't get his normal touches, no one's sitting there complaining. They're all about stacking up wins, getting that 1 seed. So like I said, impressive win. And the other thing I take away from it was, again, I understand that Detroit's got a decent secondary and Tampa Bay's got a lot of guys banged up, but I was really impressed with and Baker being a mobile quarterback. Detroit again was getting pressure on Baker a lot, especially the first half. So like that's just scary when they can get turnovers like that and shut you down, and then they also have that offense. So yeah, that was my biggest takeaway. Is like we might be sitting here in 2 months and saying that's this game and then the game against the Eagles. That might decide whether the Lions are the 1 seed again. Not that they did anything with it last year, but yeah, it was a. I don't. For those who I don't know if you didn't have the opportunity to watch, like who wasn't watching that game, just because like coming into it, it would have been better if Tampa Bay was healthy. But like you have Baker Mayfield and how much fun they are to watch, and you have the Lions who are fun to watch. So like, didn't really live up to the hype in that regard. But anyway, that was my takeaway. Was I was impressed with Detroit, just like they did Week 1 against the Packers. How do you respond after a loss? And they look pretty dominant.
Yeah, rolling into my favorite game of the week. Leading into this, our upset alerts had been 2-0 so far. The upset alert is now 2-1. Broncos get a huge win over the New York Jets. We say huge win; they're 2-5, but it was a huge win with how hot they've been and how the comeback we came with 33 points in the fourth, getting that win 33-42. I'm gonna start with the Giants, who played a hell of a game. Jackson Dart throwing for 283 and 3 touchdowns with an interception at the end. Scabadooby-Doo with 16 carries for 60 yards. Jackson Dart and Tyrone Tracy both finding the end zone. Wando Robinson with 95. Daniel Bellinger with a touchdown. And then Theo Johnson with a touchdown. And Scabadooby-Doo with a receiving touchdown there. So, I mean, if you're a Giants fan, it's gut-wrenching. I'm glad I'm not on the other end of that. I mean, I was on the end of a 70-20 last year. So I can imagine what it's like losing. And we've lost some close ones like the Colts game and earlier in the season. But the Broncos really only played offense in the fourth quarter. But Bo Nix did attempt to throw the ball 50 times.
Yeah.
So
I thought it was up there.
He's slinging the rock there. But 279 yards, 2 touchdowns. J.K. Dobbins having another respectable game on the ground with 81 yards. Bo Nix getting 48 yards and 2 touchdowns. Cortland Sutton getting another 87 yards. And then Troy Franklin getting a touchdown. And then R.J. Harvey with his only catch being that one to put us up late there with 1 for 2. But, I mean, this was a crazy game to watch. If you haven't watched it, go back and look up the fourth quarter of that game. You can even start at the tip touchdown by the Broncos. We get into depth in it way more in the state of the Broncos, Chiefs, and Steelers, and Packers and Bengals this week. But just there's so many things I could say. Yeah. I'm just very happy they won a bunch of money on them because I kept betting on them. I did the Vegas Mad idea, get even or get even worse. So I was ready to get even worse, and they come back and win it. It was, if you're a Giants fan, have faith. That's all I can say. I mean, I think you got a winnable game this week. I mean, you already beat them once. You might be able to beat them again as the Eagles. And with the Broncos getting that huge win, I mean, it's career. That's a career moment. It's a staple that will go down in the career of Sean Payton and Bo together, especially that quarterback tandem.
Yeah. Well, I said, as far as like for the Giants, I saw a pretty good meme the other day that was. It showed the clips of the 3 games, like, that Dallas game where they hit the 67-yard field goal, but they had like 20 seconds left. And, of course, they kicked it back to the Broncos with 33. The Broncos got the ball back with 33 seconds left. But the meme had the 3 scores that they've lost in the final second. And it said, like, just think if the Giants could be 5-2 if their defensive coordinator, like, they could have a half-eaten ham sandwich as a defensive coordinator, they'd be 5-2 is what it said. So I thought that was pretty good. But I mean, if you're a Giants fan, you come out there and you dominate, like for the most. I won't say dominating, but you're in control for the first 3 quarters. Even when Denver scored that first touchdown, you get a response. Jackson Dart again commanding that huddle in the final 2-minute drill, and especially after throwing a pick, they were down 26-16, and unfortunately, I feel like that was the game that really turned the tide. Just like any of these comebacks, it's always a turnover. But even when Denver scored, stopped the Giants, and scored again, take the lead, then Dart responded by having that touchdown with less than 40 seconds left. So, excuse me, if you're a Giants fan, they've obviously been one of the most fun teams to watch since Dart since Dart came in, and Scatterboot drafting Scatterboot this year. Of course, people like Malik Neighbors getting hurt, but was the last 2 years being a top 10 wide receiver.
Yeah.
So I feel like if you're a Giants fan, there's a lot of things to be encouraged by. Where if only they had a Saquon Barkley too, but
Just put.
but I think if they're a year away, I said who knows? We'll see how the season finishes out for Drabel. I said, but if you're a Giants fan, if they had a defense at all, no offense, but if you're a Giants fan, you have to be encouraged. They've looked a lot better since Dart's taken over, and he definitely commanded the huddle, and they had their chances. I mean, we said, like you hit the nail on the head. It is what it is. I said, but if they make 2 extra points, I said they win that game. That being said, on the flip side, as far as for Denver, like you said, what's a first real test of grit for the season and for Bo Nix and just maintaining. I think that's still huge for at least kicking the can down the road for another week, having that lead over the Chiefs, and being 5-2 with a more favorable schedule than what the Chiefs have.
Yeah.
So Denver's in the driver's seat now. I feel like they have played a lot better. I know they scored 33 and they didn't score any in the first 3, and their offense didn't look great in London. But we're talking in the last 4 or 5 games. Greg's over here doing the tomahawk chop. But over the last 4 or 5 games, I said I feel like Denver's really taking a step. Like I said, and Bo Nix taking that next step. Just a great win if you're a Denver fan. Just because, like I said, you and I both have them going to the playoffs anyway. So, but now, where it's nothing personal. I said, but I still think Patrick Mahomes is going to be hosting up the divisional title at the end of the year. But I'm definitely taking Denver a lot more serious now, as far as like a real opportunity to win the division. I mean, like I said, just a great win not to give up. I said even, like I said, when they were down 19-0, then 26-8, to keep fighting and then force that turnover. So a lot of good things, and I feel like they found their guy in Bo Nix, and now Sean Payton's kind of like implemented his system, that culture there with Denver, completely after what he came into. So good win for the Broncos. That was definitely the most in my eyes. The other one being the Steeler game, even though we lost.
Yeah.
But probably one of the top 2 games of the week. That was probably the best game of the week, and hands down was at least the best finish. Obviously, was the Giants Broncos. So yeah.
That wraps up our recaps of the games here. We're going to roll into Week 8, but before we get there, for all you jersey lovers out there who don't really care about the game but care about what they look like, I've got a couple good alternates coming up this week. The Chargers wearing their dark blue uniforms, so kind of like their throwbacks. Denver Broncos wearing their Orange Crush jerseys against the Cowboys. The Eagles rolling out their Kelly Green uniforms, and the Steelers wearing their throwbacks against the Packers on Sunday Night Football. And that's what's coming out so far. I've seen rumors that there'll be other ones, but it's not official yet, so I don't want to put that out there.
Yeah.
But I'm excited for this. Broncos Orange Crush. I said it when we talked about the jerseys a couple weeks ago, but my favorite jersey combo in the NFL. I love the Orange Crush. Man.
It's the Orange Crush. I mean, we're talking the old 80s, like the orange with the blue, like the light blue helmet.
Yeah, the baby
those are
blue.
cool.
Yeah. They're wearing the baby blue against the Cowboys, so I'm excited to see that on CBS primetime here and Tony Romo say whatever the hell he's going to say about the game.
I'm not a Chargers fan by any means,
But yeah, the dark blues, man.
with the lightning strike, like the lightning bolt down the sleeve,
Yeah.
that's I think LT and Antonio Gates and those guys wearing those, and then not a fan of the whatever it is 60 Steelers. I mean, like I said, we have the Steelers have the bumblebees and the color rush. I said, but like they'll be wearing the yellow helmets this weekend. So
Yeah. And then Kelly Green. I mean, Kelly Green put
Solid.
itself back on the map last year with their reverse hurdle. So I don't know if Saquon's going to pull that one out of the bag this week against the Giants. But who knows? It's his old team again. So it's very possible that another crazy play in the Kelly Greens.
Yeah.
But we're going to take a quick break here, and then we're going to roll into our picks of Week 8.
All right, so let's get into our picks of the week. So we're going to start off here with a Thursday Night Football. We got the Vikings rolling out to the Chargers. Where you guys at?
Chargers wearing the old navy blues we just talked about. Carson Wentz coming out and saying, maybe I shouldn't throw the ball to the other team. Has me leaning towards the Chargers here. I think it's kind of a short week, get back to the fundamentals. And like we talked about, the Vikings having to fly from Are they in the Central Time Zone? I think in Minnesota.
So,
So Central Time Zone going all the way out to the West Coast on a short week. I like the Chargers getting it done in this one at home.
yeah, I like the Chargers. Losers a three out of 4. Definitely had a lot better. I shouldn't say a lot better, but had a better second half last week. But they still have a lot of weapons. They still have a pretty good defense, and the Vikings offense has struggled for the most part for most of the year. We saw a little bit of life last week against the Eagles, but I like the Chargers and Justin Herbert to take care of business at home in those throwback jerseys.
Yeah.
So I'm just not. I haven't been sold on them all year as far as the Vikings, and so I feel like the Chargers are a good team. They've struggled a little bit, but I feel like they have a chance to kind of right the ship a little bit, especially with the way because they've lost some of these games at home. So now having this game at home on a short week, I feel like they hold serve and get the dub.
All right. Well, Sunday, I don't know what game we'll get here, but got the Jets rolling out there to the Bengals, the hot Bengals. The Bengals just came up there and put that beat down on the Steelers. Are the Bengals going to go roll hard? Probably. I mean,
The 0 for Jets. I have the Bengals getting this one done. I think Joe Flacco could sit this week and they start whoever the young guy was that got benched.
AJ Browning.
Yeah,
Jake Browning,
Jake Browning out there. I think they still get it done. Jets are a dumpster fire, man.
Yeah.
And this is a good Joe Flacco. Don't get hurt. Throw the ball to Jamar Chase another 20 times and go home with a win.
Yeah. I too have the Bengals building off that momentum and what they kind of unlocked on offense last week, and that veteran presence against. Let's be frank, it's not a very good Jets team. And then, like I said, some things to be encouraged by. But like I said, Chase, not Jamar Chase, but Chase Brown, the running back, having I think he had almost 120 rushing yards. And the Jets have been susceptible to against the run this year. And so I feel like Cincinnati can be more selective and be more conservative and still have plenty of offense to beat the Jets. And I feel like the Bengals still have enough pieces, and they're going to build off of that. Because they're a half game out of first place right now. So I like the Bengals to take care of business at home as well.
all right. Well, we got the Bears going out there and playing the Ravens. Hopefully, we got Lamar Jackson back.
Yeah.
So.
Whoa. Ravens coming back off a bye week. I like the Bears winning this one. I know it's time for the Ravens to step up and play, but the Bears have been on a hot streak. I think Ben Johnson's kind of getting the offense clicking to where he wants it. Rome Odunze, Caleb Williams, the Swift guy.
Yeah, DeAndre Swift.
Yeah, DeAndre Swift. I almost called him Devontae Smith. But I combined so many names there. But I think the Bears get it done. Just because I think Lamar brings up a spark to that offense, it brings it back. But that defense is still, Kyle Van Noy is still questionable. Kyle Hamilton is supposed to come back and play, but who knows how long it's going to take for him to get back and clicking. So I like the Bears getting the win here, and I think this puts the Ravens in an even deeper hole.
Yeah, Chicago's looked really good. Caleb Williams is another one of those guys like Dak Prescott or Sam Darnold, especially in the NFC, that's quietly having a really solid year. And like you kind of mentioned with Swift and Odunze. That being said, I feel like this is the start, the beginning of the end in the AFC North. Unfortunately, I feel like Baltimore, we're having Lamar Jackson back, and not just only that, but obviously everybody's familiar with how the Ravens lost some of those games before Jackson got hurt. But I don't anticipate Derrick Henry, having the fumble struggles. On top of, you look at Lamar Jackson's record against NFC teams. It's kind of like Michael Vick against AFC teams back in the day. It's just because they're not used to seeing him very often.
Yeah.
And so I think the Ravens, it is concerning a little bit having Van Noy out because when he was back for the 1 week against the Rams, is that you could definitely notice a huge difference in the middle of the defense, even if he's not the same Pro Bowl, almost all pro type player. So he's a big veteran leader on the defense. But I feel like Baltimore at home and how their season started and Lamar Jackson just itching to get back. I think Chicago keeps it close till half with him, but Baltimore pulls away late. And the biggest thing for Chicago is, Baltimore's had one of the worst defenses so far this year too. So I said it could be a lot closer than what people think, but I think where we all had them and what they look like on paper, and now having some people come back from injury, none bigger than obviously than Lamar Jackson, and playing at home, I feel like the Ravens get the win.
Interesting. All right, so we have the Dolphins struggling, going to the Falcons. What's your take?
Yeah, on this one, I think McDaniels has not been fired yet this week. This is Tuesday night. I don't think he's going to get fired this week. I'm guessing they're going to wait till the bye week to let him go. I think he for sure gets fired unless they somehow go on a run, but I don't even know if going on a run here is really going to save the guy's tenured there. So I like the Dolphins, or I don't like the Dolphins. I like the Falcons winning this one at home, losing a lackluster Sunday Night Football game to the 49ers last week.
So this is in the McDaniels then, huh?
I don't know if it's this. I don't know when I don't have it in front of me. I had it written down, but I don't have it in front of me. That whenever their bye week is, I think McDaniels gets canned. I think they're waiting for the bye week just for a transition because I think front office probably knows that hey, we're not winning a Super Bowl this year, guys.
Right.
Let's keep the guy in the building for now, and then we can fire him later on and kick the can down the road a little bit.
Yeah.
So I like the Falcons getting the dub in this one.
Yeah. I mean, the Falcons being kind of like you said, kind of a stagnant offensive performance against, even with San Francisco missing their two best defensive players, really poor outing. I said, but like Falcons, beating the Bills 2 weeks ago or the Commanders, I said, like at their best, I said they're kind of middle of the pack. And like I said, the Dolphins are just top 3 dumpster fires in the NFL right now, which is too bad because I like McDaniel. But I feel like the Falcons win here. I think Deshaun Robinson has a big game against that Miami defense, and people sleep on the Falcons, or at least on the defense. I mean, when you take away that Carolina game, like I said, you hold Josh Allen to 14 points. You hold, granted it was Mariota, but like I said, they hold the Commanders' offense to less than 20 points. Like I said, even with today's rules and offenses, like the Falcons more often than not this year. Beating the Vikings still with J.J. McCarthy, which I know he's unproven, but it was 22-6. They only gave up 6 points to him. So the Falcons are another one of those, like, you might not realize have a top 10 to 12 defense, and I just don't trust anything on that Miami offense. And
Nope.
yeah, we won't spend a lot of other time on that one.
Bulls and Panthers, upset alert, 2-1. What do you think?
Yeah. I had going into this. This was going to be our upset alert game of the week. With Bryce Young being out, I think the Bills handle business coming off the bye. I think if Bryce Young's in this one, I was definitely taking the Panthers just because of how the hot streak they've been on. And the Bills' last game against the Falcons on Monday Night Football before they went to the bye was a little rocky. But I think the Bills get this one. I'm interested to see how the Panthers play with Andy Dalton at quarterback. I don't know how much that changes. And right now they have a lot of young stars playing in a lot of positions, it's a really young team, so I'm interested to see how they play against the Bills here. But the Bills coming off the bye, kind of struggle, like slipping there before the bye. I think the Bills come out hot and take care of the Panthers.
Yeah, I have the Bills as well. I feel like everyone kind of forgets about the Bills. They played really poorly. They had the bye week last week, and then before that, a really poor outing against Atlanta. I said, but at their best, they're again one of those top 5 or 6 teams. Through the first month of the season, we might have said the top team, and still an MVP favorite in Josh Allen. And so I just, like I said, Panthers are a feel-great story, young team, having a winning record at 4-3. I wouldn't have said that at the beginning of the year. So, and I think Andy Dalton will give them, keep them competitive again through that first half. But I just feel like there's too much offense on the Bills side, and everyone, rightfully so, is talking about the Chiefs and the Colts, but because the Bills have 2 bad games, which happens in the NFL, I said I feel like they'll make this a statement game, and they too know what's coming up the week after that against the Chiefs, and so I think this will be a tune-up game for them. They'll be sharp coming off the bye. I like the Bills to take care of business on the road.
Not really the upset alert. That was written on the wrong column here in the
my bad.
wrong low. Yeah, 49ers at Texans was our upset alert. So here's where we have a split of opinions on what happens with this game. 49ers, Texans. All right, so let's break that one down. So,
49ers struggle. I mean, their defense, obviously, they held a stagnant offense. Stealing word for word what Twitch said, but an offense has been struggling. Bijan Robinson's still a dog. But that 49ers offense with Mac Jones has been clicking, even though their offense is on the IR as well. I mean, they got George Kittle back last week, who didn't really get involved, but I think that's good. I think George Kittle gets back this week. Christian McCaffrey's still out there making plays, but they're still missing IU. Ricky Purcell, however you say his last name, is still hurt. So they've had some interesting guys step in and play. But I like the 49ers getting it done with this one. The Texans held their own last night against the Seahawks, but they've been an underwhelming team so far this year. And I think the 49ers get out there and can get the dub against the lackluster Texans this year.
That's a good take. At first, I wanted to take the Niners just because, like, even last week against the Falcons or when Purdy went down and some of those other games, like the Seahawks game, like, every time I want to count out the Niners, they surprise me. And so with the Texans being 2-4, it's easy to say, okay, well, probably the Niners. But I actually, as part of why I did the upset alert, is that I actually have the Texans here. Texans have looked a lot better over the last month. They turned the ball over a couple times against the Seahawks last night, but kudos to the Seahawks defense for holding them out of the red zone two different times. But other than that, like, Houston was moving the ball, and we've talked about this all year. We talk about good defenses. They have shown up every single week. The Texans, that is, their defense. And Houston's kind of a sneaky, hard place to play. And so I don't feel like San Francisco's got the kind of offense where they're going to blow very many teams out at all. And so it'll be a close game. And I feel like C.J. Stroud is one of those guys that's had success, like pretty good, like significant success for a couple of years now in the NFL. I feel like with them being a must-win game, and I said the Niners so far this year have been the better team, I said, but with the way this season's gone and with it being at Houston and with the way they lost last week and with the Texans, like, again, sneakily being a great, aggressive, and DeMarco Ryan come up with a game plan, like, I feel like the Texans should pull off the upset here. I feel like their defense is going to keep them in the game, and C.J. Stroud makes a play late, and they surprise the Niners.
All right, well, another interesting game here at noon. Got the Giants traveling out there to Philly, playing the Eagles. Giants come off of a disappointing loss. Eagles trying to get some stuff figured out. What's your thoughts?
Well, this game is kind of a weird, to me, kind of a weird scheduling thing. With like 2 times playing in 18 days, less than 3 weeks, and like the Thursday before last, I mean, it was 34-17. It was a complete dominant win for the Eagles, but I feel like they just did not show up for that game. So I feel like revenge is going to be on the mind. I think it'll be a closer game, but it's in Philly. They're still the defending Super Bowl champs, and like I said, Giants keep it close. They had their number a couple weeks ago, but I feel like the Eagles get the win at home this week.
Well, you said kind of a revenge game here, and that takes me to Jackson Dart, who wears the Anakin Skywalker face paint. Looks like he's Anakin Skywalker with the cut on his face. And I think the Giants get this one done. I think they have the number the first time, and I know the Eagles will be more aware. I mean, it's not a short week again. They're not playing away.
Yeah.
But with that being said, I think the Giants come in with the loss the way they lost. I mean, obviously they're not going to have a kicker this week. They'll have a kicker, but and see who they sign. But I think the Giants get it done. I think it's going to be closer than the last game. I hope for the sake of the Eagles it's closer than the last game. But I think the Giants coming off the loss the way they did, and the lack of a better term, the ego that Giants offense has, I think the Giants pull this one out and beat the Eagles again and go 2-0 against them this year. But it is crazy that they have to play 2 times in 18 days. Like, what are we? That's like a Broncos Raiders last year. They played week 16 and week 16 and 18. Like, what are we doing?
Right.
So last noon game, Browns at Pats. What do you think? Where are we at?
Pats. I mean, that offense, Drake May's breaking Tom Brady records right now out there in New England for completion percentage in a game, touchdowns. And the crazy part is the only big name, the guy they have on that offense right now is Stephon Diggs, other than Drake May.
Yeah.
So they're doing it with a cast of members, kind of like the old Belichick days. with Vrabel kind of being a disciple of Belichick, you could say. I mean, it's kind of reforming back, and I mean the Browns' defense is good. We've talked about it. The Browns' defense is still out there. They're still a legitimate defense, but I think the Pats get it done is rolling. I mean, they've been rolling. Drake May's been hot. That offense has been hot. That defense has been playing lights out against a rookie quarterback.
Yeah. Now I can't remember. Are they 4-2 or 5-2? The Patriots. I think they're 5-2. They are 5-2.
Yeah, they're 5-2.
So they haven't even had their bye week. So they have one. Patriots are winners of 4 straight. I have the Patriots as well. It's at home. Like I said, winners 4 straight. Drake May playing exceptionally well, taking that leap. If the playoffs started today, the number 2 AFC team would actually be the Patriots, not the Bills, not the Chiefs. Not even the number 2 seed right now would be the Patriots. So I said Cleveland, like we've talked about every week, outstanding defense. Gabriel had a lot better game against a bad Dolphins team last week. I said, but like some things to be encouraged about if you're a Browns fan. But I feel like Mike Vrabel prefers these kind of ugly games, and like I said, just even on the road the last couple of weeks, the week before against the Saints and stuff like that, even when things were struggling, like New England didn't freak out when they went down early, hung in there and then controlled the rest of the game. So I feel like Patriots and Mike Vrabel get the job done at home against the Browns.
That wraps up our noon games. 305 Bucks after that disappointing loss. Roll out there to Dome and play the Saints. Everybody's taking the Bucks, but go ahead.
Yeah, I'm obviously taking the Bucks.
Yeah.
Even with the infirmary ward that they have out there.
Yeah.
Who knows who they're going to have playing wide receiver this week.
Yeah.
I think the Bucks get it done. Not too much to say.
Yeah. Yeah, I said it's going to be interesting. It would be interesting to see if Godwin plays. I guess it was good to see Ekbuka, even in the loss yesterday. So hopefully with another week. Divisional game, like I said, those are always, a lot of times, no matter what the record, no matter what division you're talking about, those games are, whatever it is, 80-90% of the time, usually within a score. That being said, Baker Mayfield's still been an MVP candidate for a reason. They're still 5-2. They still completely control well, they don't because they lost to the Lions, but
they control their destiny. Though.
For the most part, yeah, they definitely do in the division. And the Saints team just doesn't have a lot of pieces. It doesn't have like Olave's been a nice story. Spencer Rattler playing better than expected, but I just don't see another scenario where they upset the Bucks. Bucks have been one of the better teams all year, and I think they get the dub.
I'm assuming nobody's taking the Titans over the Colts, but that's the next 325 game, Titans versus Colts.
Yep.
Let's go.
Yeah, Colts. Last time these two played, I picked the Titans because I thought, the Colts weren't legit, but the Colts proved that they're legit this last week. And like you said, another divisional game, so it'll probably be closer than we think, but the Colts have been rolling, and I don't think this Titans team is going to slow them down by any means.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll keep it real simple here. Like I said, Indianapolis has been one of, if not the, they're 6-1. They have the best record in the NFL, and been one of the more balanced teams: offense, defense, running game, passing game. And it's at home against the Tennessee team that's obviously rebuilding, still looking, I believe, for their first win. Right? No, they beat the Cardinals.
Yeah.
But still, you're talking about a 1-5, 1-16, whatever they are. I expect the Colts to run roughshod all over the Titans.
Yeah.
Probably the game of the week. There's a couple of them that are up there, but, we got now the Cowboys and the Broncos. Cowboys have been rolling hot. I've never thought I would talk big time about Cowboys, but I've taken the Cowboys a couple times this year, and they have not let me down. Broncos are starting to get it figured out, I think, on offense. Defense has been solid, but we got the Cowboys running out to Mile High. What do you think?
Obviously I'm taking the Broncos in this one. I'm riding with my guys. Crazy win that they get last week. On Demaryius Thomas Day, 33. You can look. We talked about it earlier. All the 33s in there. The Cowboys' offense is good, and it'll be a real test for our defense, who's been kind of struggling. Fun little fact here that the Broncos cornerbacks didn't give up a single reception last week. It was all linebackers and safeties giving up quick outs and all that stuff. But Riley Moss and Patrick Surtain were shut down last week, which I think will obviously, with two number one wide receivers, it's going to be hard to stop that passing game with George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb. But I think Patrick Surtain will travel with CeeDee Lamb, and then it's going to be by committee to take out Ferguson and the rest of them. Drake Greenlaw being out for this game is definitely going to hurt us. Granted, he only came back for a game and then got himself suspended for loudmouthing to the refs, which a lot of NFL players appreciated that because I think they did. Everybody wants to do it, but nobody actually did it. And then Greenlaw was like, "Well, yeah, I'll do it. Well, okay, whatever." But I like the Broncos getting it done in this game. This is going to be the only 3 o'clock game that's going to be on TV, so the nation will be watching. So I'm very, very excited for the Broncos to come out and show out in not a true primetime game, but a marquee matchup.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, there's a reason why we picked this as the game of the week. We're talking about two teams that were almost all their games seem to come down to the wire every week between the Cowboys and Broncos. And like I said, Broncos have a top 3 defense each of the last 2 years. I said, but if you're, I guess, a little bit cause of concern is how great that Cowboys offense has looked, and having both of those guys, Pickens and Lamb, and putting up 44, and then also allowing 32, whatever, to the Giants last week. That being said, so I have the Broncos holding serve here. Greg shaking his head.
Yeah,
So,
man, 'cause
another week of the Chiefs.
On the game of the week, man, I keep picking against you. I'm gonna go after the Cowboys. I mean, Broncos, they've got to go out there and put up points. Last week, they did, but I think the Cowboys come out there and figure out how to put up some points. And it's a road game from the Cowboys, so that's a crazy take. So I mean, I'm gonna go out there. I'm gonna take the Cowboys over the Broncos. I'm picking against you guys every week, and I'm still getting it done in that. So
You want to pick weekly games, and you can call us.
yeah.
You want me to pick one or two games a week?
I'm
about it.
I'm taking the one that I feel like is the biggest impact.
Greg's been a Cowboys
The
believer
game
all
of the
year, and he's
week.
riding with them. So
Yeah, give me the Cowboys or the Broncos. Dak's going to come out there and put up 375 yards on offense through the air. Yeah, and 3
Nick's
touchdowns.
gonna put up more.
That's a little crazy.
No, but I could see in the scenario you're talking about where they do pick up the win, though. So that's why I was really going back and forth because
I know.
Denver it's
Broncos defense is legit, but the Broncos are going to have to put some points on the board,
And
and
the
the
offense is
Cowboys
a
is
question mark.
and Dax figured that out how to score. But I mean, it's going to be.
I mean, you have 2 wide receiver ones plus a run
Yeah.
game. I mean, it's a hard
right.
pill to swallow.
Nick's is
all day.
Nick's is obviously
Just to make you twitch
You're gonna
next
make him
week.
twitch.
Well, that's going to be his twitch next week. His Pickens is going to go crazy. Oh,
but like
sorry. Just, you can see it, man.
right. But no, like I said, Nick, we've talked about is obviously we feel like he's taking that next step. But it's like I could see where Dallas pulls it off just the fact of like Denver's offense. I still feel like you're missing a piece or two on offense. I wouldn't recommend that being their formula with the Giants.
Yeah, no
I
shit.
like the Giants.
Let's score every quarter, guys.
Well, but just putting up 30 points. I don't feel like the Broncos are on that offensive, on that level. So I can see on the flip side of that why I feel like the Denver will pull it out is because we're also talking about this Cowboys defense too.
Yeah, the
who's giving
Cowboys
up 30
defense.
to everybody. So
Put a circle.
what a great game.
Put a circle on a G there for Greg taking the Cowboys. Oh, yeah. And the other thing, that doesn't make you twitch. We got the Sunday Night Football game. I'm excited for this, man. This is going to be great. Packers, the Steelers. And you guys have written your picks down here, so, geez, I don't know. I guess I'm going to start with Box. Let's go.
And I have one thing to say.
Here
What-
we
what-
go.
oh,
Finn.
man,
What do you
Finn.
got it, Finn?
The Steelers are frauds.
Yeah. All I have to say is, here we go, Steelers. I have the Steelers winning this one. Like we've said before, not trying to crap on my boy Ryan's team who came on earlier and gave us some good Packers takes. But the Packers are the best, worst team in the league. I mean, it took Micah Parsons getting 4 sacks last week and having 10 QB hits and just having an outrageous game to make them come back against the Arizona Cardinals, who are 2-4 now. I mean, granted, they're playing arguably the toughest division in the NFC, and look at all-encompassed toughest division with all teams being 5-2 except for them. But I think the Steelers lose a close one last week against the Bengals. Obviously, it happens. It's a division game. We talked about it going into it. But I like the Steelers getting it done. I think A-Rod with what little he has left in the tank, I think A-Rod still has that. I mean, A-Rod's always been a cocky guy, but I think he has the cocky chip on his shoulder. Hey, this is my little team. Hey, Jordan Love, you're still my apprentice, man. Like, watch the master cook. I think DK gets involved. Obviously, last week it was by committee at the tight end position, which is very interesting. I mean, Muth only had 8 catches going into the game, and then he catches 2 touchdowns in the game, which was amazing for my parlay.
Finally.
Finally Muth gets involved after getting re-upped. So I think the Steelers get it done. That Packers defense will be formidable, and obviously Micah Parsons is going to be a problem for A-Rod. But hopefully A-Rod still has a little bit of step up and then make Parsons go inside. You know, the old classic A-Rod step up on the Hail Mary and then roll out. Maybe he still has it in him. And I believe he still has it in him, so give me the Steelers.
Good take. Steelers at home. What about you, Twitch?
Well, I mean, we don't pick game of the week for the primetime games, but I feel like this
would definitely be the game of the week if we pick.
I feel like it would be. So we're talking about 2 playoff caliber teams. I think it'll be down to the wire. So traditionally, these games, if you go back and look at the last 5 or 6 times they played, it's literally down to the wire. Somebody gets a game-winning field goal touchdown. It's like 2 of the NFL's most storied franchises. Throwback jerseys, all that feel good. Aaron Rodgers playing great. I think Aaron Rodgers has the opportunity to be either the 5th or 6th quarterback ever to beat all 32 teams with Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees. I can't remember if Phillip Rivers, this 1 year in Indy, got to play the Colt Chargers or not.
I think he did. I don't know if he beat him, though.
But very short list. Brett Favre was another one that beat all 32 teams. So, like, I do think that if there's a reason for, I mean, not that he needs a reason. I said Aaron Rodgers has, I hate to admit it, but like he's played above expectations or what my expectations were for him still having left in the tank. So if there's a game that he's going to come out and show out against, I think it would be this one. And like I said, one thing that would be encouraged by last week was, as a Steelers fan, was like you said, getting the tight ends, getting Freiermuth involved, and like I said, like can they score when they need a score? I'm picking the Packers. All that, I'm picking the Packers because I've watched every single week. Listen, you saw what Joe Flacco just did to us. You saw what Drake made, Carson Wentz, even Dylan Gabriel at times. Dylan Gabriel. Pittsburgh's got the number, I think it's 28 or 31st. One of them's total defense, one of them's pass defense. And like with the weapons that they have, the 2 wide receivers they have, and the tight end, and Jacobs. Like I said, we gave up to Chase Brown, who hadn't had a 100-yard game all year, gave up 120-some yards, over 10 yards a carry, and now you're going to have Josh Jacobs in there. What do you think? And then with Jordan Love, I feel like Jordan Love carves us up, and they beat us late because, I don't know who our number 2 receiver is, and like I said, it was by committee with the tight end. I said, but Green Bay, we talked about it with several other teams, like with Houston and stuff. Like, but Green Bay is another one that's got a top third of the in offense. So whereas Aaron Rodgers, granted, it's several years removed, so I don't know how much to make of it. Yeah. But whereas Aaron Rodgers knows the Packers know Aaron Rodgers too. So I think it's going to be a nail biter down to the end. But I'm just going to be honest. I feel like the Packers are the better, more balanced team, and Pittsburgh hasn't beat. The best team that they've beat, in my mind, the only quality team they've really beaten is the Patriots in Week 3. So, I don't know. I think Pittsburgh plays a lot better on defense this week, but I feel like the Packers get the win.
Wow. So if you know any Steelers fans that want to come on the show, it'd be nice to get a take from a Steelers fan from time to time. Because
this is like the 6th time he's recently.
I know.
It's the 3rd time.
It's the 3rd time you've went against.
Well, that's also why I'm kicking everyone's ass in the pick'em. So I'm not
biased.
biased.
But you have to be objective in that.
Right. And I'm not even trying to sound cocky, but what have I been wrong about our team? Even when on the good one, what they're missing, second receiver, all that.
Yeah. All your takes have been spot on. So.
And I'm a color red, 10-7, 9-8. Like, tell you right now.
Well, we'll see how that goes. Man, but Sunday Night Football, I don't know what you guys are doing Sunday night, but y'all ought to come out here to the Backstage Pass. Just watch the game, do something fun. Because we got Monday night. Man, Monday night games. I love the primetime games, but as
there's only one this week, though. We're done with doubleheader Monday nights. I mean, last night I fell asleep about 11 o'clock with the Texans Seahawks game, and I woke up at 12:20ish, and they were still playing. Yeah. And I was like, What? I thought they were showing highlights for a second. I was like, oh shit,
No,
it's the fourth quarter, guys.
It's still going on. I think I turned it off at like at 11 o'clock. But yeah, on Monday night this week, we have the Commanders, if you will, come to Kansas City. I'm not getting into any of those games, man. That's just a struggle. But you have the Commanders going to GEHA, playing the Chiefs. I mean, injuries aside of what's going on with Daniels, I do feel like no matter what happens there, I feel like the Chiefs get this done. So I'm going to take the Chiefs on that one. But you guys, I mean, I'm assuming are on the same page that we roll out hot.
Yeah.
Then we go up to Buffalo.
Very much so. I think this is with the Commanders being a good defense still, I think it's weird. It feels weird saying this, especially with the season the Commanders had last year. But I feel like this is a get-right game for the Bills game for the Chiefs. That they need to get this win, they need to get it handily, and they need to roll out of there. I mean, last week Chris Jones was drinking vodka on the sideline in the fourth quarter. Not actual vodka, but he was definitely drinking water out of a glass bottle that looked like a vodka bottle. Saw that one. It was very interesting.
Huh.
But
That explains the lack of productivity.
yeah, very much so. But I had the Chiefs getting this one done. I think Marcus Mariota is a quality backup, but missing, Scary Terry and missing Debo, their top two receivers. I think that takes away. I mean, that Zach Ertz is still out there running routes. He's still a decent tight end. He's not. I don't think he's top half of the league by any means, but he still gets the job done and he does what he needs to. But I think Kansas City gets it done. I think Rice comes out, has another big game. I wouldn't be surprised if Andy's look this week is to get Worthy more involved as well so they can get the 1-2 combo going. And that also opens up Kelsey in the middle and whatever Kelsey does. Who knows what he's doing now.
Absolutely, and get that offense going down the field. I mean,
Yeah.
then maybe you see Pacheco.
Yeah, you see the run game start to open up more.
Yeah, start to come out there. Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
Well, with the way the Chiefs' defense has been playing, and with especially if Daniels doesn't play, this is a great opportunity for the Chiefs as far as a tune-up game right before they play Buffalo. I said they've, and a lot of times I don't necessarily go off of just whatever the hot take in the NFL is, but it's pretty wide talked about this week that over the last three, even with the loss to the Jaguars, over the last month, the best team in football, just even by the eye test and by history, has been the Chiefs. So, yeah, it's not even close. I have the Chiefs at home. Greg and I have been to several games together, so we're going to that Monday night game. So I've been to 14 NFL stadiums, and the Chiefs aren't even my number one team. They're my number two team. I said, but there's very few places, not just even sports, but just in general, as far as Arrowhead on a Monday night and the electricity that brings. And so with the Chiefs getting back on that track and the excitement level up, the Chiefs playing their best football, getting guys back. First time after that cruddy start, we're like, oh yeah, everyone start watching out for us now. Now they get that one game. They had the chance to go up, one game over 500 last week. I feel like this is going to be like a homecoming game. So I think they're just going to honestly steamroll the Commanders.
I hope so.
So
this week our byes are the Cardinals, the Lions, the Rams, the Raiders, the Seahawks, and the Jags on bye this week. So that's why we only have 3 o'clock games.
yeah,
But
Raiders are almost always
Yeah.
on a bye. So
we got 4 different games this week, I think.
yeah, I mean, so be interesting to see where the picks lie on this one. Yeah, I'm excited to see how week 8 goes.
Yeah, so-
Finn, you got a couple games you'd like to weigh in on here before we bounce on out of here for our week 8.
Finn, so far, he's with us every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But sitting on the season with his pick 'em on the podcast at 9-4. So, what you got, buddy?
Jets, Bengals. I'm gonna go Bengals.
Yeah.
Just like I said earlier, Steelers are frauds. I don't want to count that.
It just keeps coming. It's not counting as a win.
A-Rod should retire. And Jets suck. And they're probably coming off that momentum, just like I said, and they're definitely going to be running the ball more. Joe Flacco's probably going to hit Jamar Chase more. And if we can get T. Higgins involved, then it'll definitely be a high-scoring game for the Bengals.
Yeah, we'll probably send you a postcard from the playoffs again. So,
What other games you guys want to weigh in on there, Finn?
Packers, Steelers.
Oh, yeah, we know where you're going on this one. I don't even.
Packers. Easy. just because Steelers suck. A-Rod should retire. And
He leads the NFL in touchdowns, dude.
he still should retire.
Yeah. Finn, what's
Go
your
ahead. Go ahead, buddy.
what's your take on the Giants-Eagles game this week?
Probably the Eagles. Giants are coming off of a big loss. And Eagles, they already lost to the Giants. They're going to take that, get the momentum from that, and try and win that game. It'll be a high-scoring game.
A shootout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it. And then last one here. Do you think Kansas City gets it done against the Commanders on Monday Night Football?
Oh,
Yeah.
he's squirming. He's squirming.
Yeah. Chiefs. With Jaden Daniels out, and Terry McLaurin and Deebo Samuel, who knows who they're going to put in for wide receiver. And quarterback, they have to have a backup. So it's just
Going
obvious.
against Patrick
Chiefs.
Mahomes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Granted, Marcus Mariota has played Patrick Mahomes in some pretty good games in his career.
Yeah.
But it's also, Marcus
Okay.
Mariota has gray hair nowadays, guys.
Right.
He's old.
Yeah.
There's Finn's takes on the week. We're going to wrap it up here. Appreciate Greg for letting us come out here to Lakeside every Tuesday. Appreciate for him hosting, grilling some pizzas today for us. Appreciate Twitch for coming out. Appreciate Twitch for kicking my ass every week in picks.
12-3 last week.
12-3 last week. His record overall is 73-34-1. I am 64-43-1. Looks like my math grade right there. But I appreciate everybody listening. Appreciate you guys hanging out with the picks. Appreciate Finn for coming out with some takes.
Yeah.
Appreciate the Steelers hate.
Yeah.
I mean, not that I'm a Steelers hater. I just appreciate a little bit of banter back and forth across the board. A big shout out to our guest Ryan for coming on. Packers expert, you could say, coming on and giving us some good takes. So hope everybody's parlays hit. Hope everybody has a great week in your betting worlds. Hope everybody has a great, safe weekend. K-State KU play this week. EMAW, every man's a Wildcat. Be an interesting game for sure there in Lawrence. A little college football talk there. Indiana's number 3 in the country, if anybody was wondering. Who would have thought? But appreciate everybody for listening. We'll catch you guys next week.